matzor manayim shevet achim gam yachad hine matzor manayim shevet achim gam yachad hine matzor shevet achim gam yachad hine matzor shevet achim gam yachad hine matzor manayim shevet achim gam yachad hine matzor manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Hello and Shabbat Shalom to you. So nice to see you on this fine, dry day here in Florida. Ugh. It's raining all day. It's like it's not even supposed to Florida's supposed to rain for like 7 minutes and then.
I wanted waterfront property, and today I had one. Yeah.
That was good. That was funny. Oh, it was wet. So if you didn't notice, we moved our Chardonnay Shabbats to 2 weeks from today. Next week is our Veterans Shabbat, where we will be honoring our veterans. But then the following week, the 19th, we'll be moving back to Chardonnay Shabbat. And even though it's supposed to be a 7 o'clock service in our regular cycle, it's going to be a 6:15 service. So even though we're going to be flip-flopping in our timing, we want you to know today is 6:15 because it makes sense. It's the first Shabbat of the month. Next week's going to be 7 because it's supposed to be there. The following week is supposed to be 7, but it's going to be 6:15. Just so you know. And you'll hear from us probably at least 50 to 60 times between now and then with some reminder emails mentioning that that service is going to be at 6:15 as opposed to 7 o'clock. But we are thrilled that you are here and here at Shabbat for us. And I think it's also the Shabbat before we change our clocks. Isn't that right?
Yep, tomorrow night.
We changed our clocks. I lived in Arizona for 13 years, and I didn't have to ever change my clock because you don't change your clocks in Arizona. So it was so lovely. I never had to do it. It was really good. And then I also lived in Indiana, and Indiana is one of those states that doesn't do that. So now I'm back to Florida, and we have to change our clocks. So don't forget to do that. That's all we have for you for the entire service. So Shabbat Shalom to you, and have a
See you next week.
Have a rest of your wonderful. We stand for Aleinu. Those of you on our live stream, hello and welcome. We are thrilled that you are here to join us. If you would like to follow along in our virtual prayer book, you can. CBIBoca.org is where you're going to go to our website, CBIBoca.org. Top left corner, hit the word menu. At menu, after menu, hit services, and then you'll scroll down a little bit under the services section. You will see the punim of Cantor Muchnick. See? And right by him, you will see a link that you can press that will take you to our virtual prayer book. So therefore, you can pray along and chant along and be fully present with us throughout our entire service on this fine Erev Shabbat. We are going to continue now with the lighting of Shabbat candles. That can be found on page 2 is where we're going to continue. Page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel
Now that we have sanctified our time and it is officially Shabbat for us here in our sanctuary, we get to continue to appreciate our presence of Shabbat with making our evening and our next 25 hours even sweeter with the Kiddush, which can be found on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri agafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabar kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim ki vanu v'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha Be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim. So now our lights are bringing us some warmth and love into our space, and the sweetness of Shabbat has been raised through our Kiddush. We are going to continue now with Kabbalat Shabbat, with bringing in our Shabbat bride to spend time with us, to begin our evening with us, and carry us through, like I mentioned, all of today and tomorrow, bringing us sweetness and making the challah taste better and the wine taste better and the study deeper, and all of our beautiful connections with our family and friends. So we're going to continue now with Yedid Nefesh, which is right in the middle of page 10.
Yedid Nefesh av harachaman Mishol chavdecha el ritzonecha Yarutz avdecha kemo haya Yishtachave el mul hadarecha Yerav lo yedidutecha minofetzuf bechol ta'am Adonai ziv ha'olam nafshi cholat ahavatecha ana el narefana la beharot la noam zivecha as titchazek v'titrape v'haita la simchat olam yadarai rai 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 yadarai rai 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 yadarai rai 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 yadarai rai rai
We continue with our connections to Kabbalat Shabbat, to the appreciation of the Shabbat bride, spending time with us. We continue now with Psalm 96, Shiru Ladonai, page 13.
Shiru Ladonai kol haaretz, Shiru Ladonai shir chadash, Shiru Ladonai kol haaretz, Shiru Ladonai shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Ladonai kol haaretz, Shiru Ladonai shir chadash, Shiru Ladonai kol haaretz, Shiru Ladonai shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song.
We will continue now with the words of Romemu, which is all the way at the bottom in Psalm 99 on page 17.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kocho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kocho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar koso. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar koso. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kocho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kocho.
We have been warming up our Kabbalat Shabbat spirits, and we get perhaps to the pinnacle of Kabbalat Shabbat, the Kabbalistic words of Shlomo Halevi, who was so inspired and so uplifted by the idea of this bride that symbolizes God and spends time with us, and like I said, makes our Shabbat even more special. So inspired that he wrote his name in the actual prayer. He wrote his name in the paragraphs. He wrote his name in paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. He wrote his name in the first Hebrew letter of each of the paragraphs. And he wrote Shlomo Halevi. So forever and ever we will know about his passion and his love and his connection to Tzfat in the 16th century and Kabbalah and this idea of our bride that enhances our time together. In Shabbat, page 20, we continue verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, where we'll stand and welcome in the Shabbat bride by standing. Lecha Dodi, page 20.
Lecha Dodi likrat kahala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kahala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad hishmiyanu el hameyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet be'elitila. Lecha Dodi likrat kahala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha ki hi mekor haberacha merosh mikedem le'esucha sof ma'aseh v'machshava tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kahala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri kiva orech kumi ori uri uri shida beri kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kahala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kahala b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Welcome to Shabbat bride.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'v'tzola toch emunei am segula. Boi chala lecha Dodi likrat kahala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kahala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai 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 lai. Lecha Dodi likrat kahala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kahala b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Please be seated. We continue now with Chatzi Kaddish, page 26.
Yitkadal ve'yitkadash shemei rabba Be'ilma divrach yirute ve'yamlich malchute Becha yechon v'yom mechon Uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael Bagala bagala Uvizman kadri ve'imeru Amen. Yeheshmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Lol Mehamaya Yitbarach Yitbarach Veishtabach Vitpar Vitroma Vitnase Veithadar Veitale Veitalal Shemei de Kudesha Berichu Leila Min kol berchata v'shirata תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו Amen.
Continue now with the call to worship. Baruch Hu, page 28. Together we stand.
Lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai lai ya lai 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed La 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 la
Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. We continue at the bottom of page 33. Let's alternate paragraphs. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works, the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. 34:35.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated. We continue V'ahavta, page 36.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha mehayu letotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. We continue on the top of page 39. 39. Let's read that together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, there's eternally Egypt, there's a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Mi Chamocha on page 40.
Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neheda b'kodesh, norat tehilot osef eleh, norat tehilot osef eleh. Malchutecha ra'u v'necha, lokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Elianu ve'amru, ze Elianu ve'amru. Adonai himloch le'olam ba'ed, Adonai himloch le'olam ba'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neheda b'kodesh, norat tehilot osef eleh, norat tehilot osef eleh.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, גולו מלך חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts. We may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue Hashkivenu on page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Mehamidenu Shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Mehamidenu Shomreinu lechaim. Ushmor tzeiteinu, uvoeinu, lechaim ushalom, me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Mehamidenu Shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, Mehamidenu Shomreinu lechaim. Ushmor tzeiteinu, uvoeinu, Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Mehamidenu Shomreinu
We ask God just now to take care of us, that we may lie down in peace and rise up to waiting to do God's will, and that God would be our shelter, God will be our counsel and defend us from enemies. And so in that same phrase, in that same connection of that request about peace, we also ask God to show us how to appreciate Shabbat, how to relax. It's very hard sometimes. I will speak for myself. It's very hard to make Shabbat. It's very hard to take a break, to take a breather, to stop the rushing, to stop the constant going, to appreciate that we get a 25-hour gift every single week of relaxation. I have apps on my phone, I have apps on my watch, I have apps everywhere reminding me to relax and to reflect. And all of those may work, but the rabbis had a really good idea, and that was, let's put this in every week. Let's get people together in community. Let's get everyone reflecting. Let's get everyone connected to Shabbat so that we could not only have our own personal reflection, but our communal reflection. And so we continue with this appreciation of Shabbat, this request from us that all of Israel, all of us, all of our Jewish people connect somehow to observe Shabbat, to appreciate the wonderful moments that we get on this very beautiful day, with Vishamru on page 44.
Vishamru Bnei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat Ledorotam Brit Olam Vishamru Shabbat Lasot et HaShabbat Ledorotam Brit Olam Beini uvein Bnei Yisrael Oti Sheshet Yamim Asa Adonai Asa Adonai Et HaShamayim V'et Haaretz Uvayom HaShvi'i Shabbat vayinafash Vishamru Bnei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat Ledorotam Vishamru Bnei Yisrael et
Continue now with the Amidah on page 46, and together we stand.
Adonai, sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, Vehanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Mekone Hakol, Mezocher Chaste Avot Ve'imahot, Umei Vigula Livnei B'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Mezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav leHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach Umorid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Zomech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atah Lehachayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
We take some time now for our own silent prayers, thoughts, and meditations, beginning here on page 52 through page 62. When you are finished, please be seated. continue now on page 60.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tahasim le'olam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata Shalom, Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tahasim le'olam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך ועל כל יושבי תבל. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
I'm not sure about you, but there is something about a free t-shirt that motivates me in a very weird way, where I think to myself, oh, I will sign up for this credit card. I will buy this refrigerator. I will go on this trip, or I will pay this amount of money, or I will join this gym for $8 billion, but I get a t-shirt. And so then I think to myself, well, then it's worth $8 billion because I get a t-shirt. So I don't know. I don't know. Any other t-shirt freaks? Or is it just me? Literally, like 3 hands have gone up. All right, great. Okay, so it's just me. Do you care about t-shirts? No. All right, great. So this was a good talk. So I have a t-shirt problem, particularly when I get home to realize that I have done this many times, and I have many free t-shirts that are not so great. So I have these shirts. The only thing worse is, in my opinion, is wearing a shirt maybe you haven't earned. So for instance, my father-in-law is actually, to this day, a national handball champion. So he has lots of handball shirts, and sometimes I wear the handball shirts. I have never thrown a handball. I've never been in a handball court before. I know it's not going to surprise you, but I'm not that athletic. Don't fall off your seats suddenly in shock that I'm not athletic. And so I'll wear the shirt, but sometimes a shirt I don't really earn, and then people have questions about, oh, you're wearing a shirt and you played, and I'm like, no, it's not mine. Someone gave it to me. And then it's a double layer, and then I have a free shirt, and it's very complicated. And I won't go on sharing it with you because I can process this myself without you, all here on the live stream and here in the sanctuary. But I want us to think about that, and I want us to think about also about this week's Torah portion. It's hopefully going to connect very nicely, is my plan. This week's Torah portion is called Toldot. It means generations, and it is a very fascinating, very intricate, very complicated Torah portion, as many of them are in general, but many particularly around the time now of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, and how they kind of all behave and don't behave And so this Torah portion is part of that mixture of behavior and not so good behavior. And so the Torah portion starts with Rebecca, who is struggling in her womb because her two sons are arguing in there, Jacob and Esau. Jacob, we find out, is he's more of the tent dweller, if you will, and then Esau, who is the skilled hunter. And so they really don't get along from the beginning. Then, if you know the story, Esau comes back from a hunt, and he is starving. And he notices that Jacob has made a stew of some kind, of a lentil stew to be exact. Thank you to my wife, by the way, who every year for this Torah portion actually makes lentils. And I have been eating lentils all week. So it's a great source of, it's delicious, and it's a great source of nutrition. So thank you for that, if you're watching. And so he notices that there's these lentils. So Esau shows up, he's starving. Jacob is cooking lentils, and he says, "Brother, can I have some lentils?" And what does Jacob say? Doesn't say, "I love you, of course, you look hungry, here's some." He says, "What's it to you? You look hungry, I got the food, let's work out a deal." And so, if you know the story, Esau sells his birthright to his younger brother, Esau is older, for this bowl of stew, for this bowl of lentils, essentially, this bowl of beans, if you will. Not magic beans, but he sells him these beans, and essentially Esau discards his birthright easily. And the other question that I have for you to think about is, do you think that Jacob earns the birthright? This is the question. Now, it's more rhetorical, so you can just be thinking about it or shaking your head in different directions. Also, that proves to me that you are still awake, which is great. So thank you for doing that. We will be talking about this actually at length tomorrow at 8:30 at our service and Torah study on Zoom. So please join us. We'll be talking about this particular part. It's very fascinating. And so the question is, does he earn it? And some of people will jump and say, no, he doesn't earn it. But also some people say Esau was very easy to give it up. So maybe he does earn it because Esau doesn't want it. So why not think to yourself, well, he doesn't want it, so why does he need it? He gives it up so easily. So for instance, I will tell you that many years ago, I jumped out of an airplane, a perfectly good airplane, 13,000 feet. I have a T-shirt, by the way, that I was very proud to get because it literally says I jumped out of an airplane. I have video evidence of it. If you can come to my office, I have pictures of me jumping out of an airplane. I see that shirt, by the way, I would only wear if I jumped off an airplane. I feel like that's a good conversation piece. I would feel inauthentic if I was wearing a T-shirt that said I jumped out of an airplane, and then you would come and ask me, and I'd be like, oh no, I'm borrowing it from someone. I feel like that has some inauthentic connection to it. And so there is a great commentary about this situation that says, you can sell your birthright for beans, but you can't buy a birthright for beans. I'll say that again. You can sell your birthright for beans, but you can't buy a birthright for beans. Meaning, if you feel like you want to discard something, you can just discard it. But to earn it, and to get it, and to feel like you're connected to it, that's a whole other idea. Jacob didn't really earn the birthright initially, we can think, but he does merit it eventually after working and acting and ultimately becoming the namesake of the Jewish people, because Jacob is Israel and we are the people of Israel. And so we have a similar situation in our lives about working on our authenticity or inauthenticity. And here it is. Being Jewish is indeed the birthright of every Jew. It's the birthright of every Jew. But I don't think it's enough that God chooses us. We also have to choose God. We also have to take a piece of action here. We need to earn our birthright by living as Jews. Chosenness means that we have far more responsibility than we do privilege. People throw that term around all the time about Jews and chosenness, and I think it's much more complicated. It's not enough that our parents or grandparents or great-grandparents were good Jews. What are we doing to earn our stripes? What are we doing to be the good Jews in this moment? We need to earn our birthright ourselves. We can't wear someone else's t-shirt. We could wear it, but ultimately it's just pretty inauthentic unless you really did what's on it. And that's where I think all of our jobs are, that we have to decide to make the choice to connect to God. We have to decide to make the choice to connect to our community. We have to decide to make the choice to give tzedakah. These are all things that we have to do ourselves. We have to decide, by the way, just like our liturgy said, to keep Shabbat in some way. It doesn't happen magically. And so, on this Shabbat, I wish all of us a Shabbat of good authenticity, where we only display what we've truly earned. Shabbat Shalom. We now think of those in our community who are in need of healing, a physical, emotional, or spiritual healing. In our thoughts and prayers, we think of Chava Leah Bat Esther, Gary Bendel, Lillian Bushell, Sloan Caston, Brian Church, Karen Coles, Chuck Curry, Mark Davis, John Daly, Jaden Deal, Anthony D. Gian Tommaso, Judith Dratler, Margot Engel, Bobby Fitchman, Herbert Fitchman, Stuart Fruman, Sarah Tzipora Bat Malka, Chava Reina Bat Esther, Ellen Hedrick, Larry Horn, Paulette Howard, Stan Jacobson, Ira Kafka, Shirley Kafka, Gary Kane, Michelle Kingen, Esther Rhoda Kaufman, Stuart Kruger, Gloria Land, Rochelle Liebman, Mark Rosenberg, Lexi Schlesinger, Jason Seidman, David Schwartz, Barbara Weiss. To those names, we had any name that you would like to add at this time. Continue with Mishaberach on page 253. 253.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimoteinu, may the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Just have some announcements for you, which we've mentioned a bunch already. Tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. is, like we mentioned, our 8:30 service and Torah study. It's on Zoom. It is going to be, we're going to delve a little more deeply into this one little section, a few other sections too. There's a lot of good stuff, but I usually say one section and then 4.5 hours later, we're still in the one section. But it's really, really, really fabulous. So just join us on Zoom. It's really great. You don't even have to put on your camera if you don't want to. Just we don't. So I'm just kidding. No, we do. I got my hair done and everything for a service.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Can't do much, Nick. It's very nice.
Do you use gel?
I use a lot of gel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. What do you think?
Gives it that shine.
It's just a shine.
Yeah.
Thanks. Next week, like we mentioned, at 7 p.m. is our service honoring our veterans. And then that following week, like we mentioned, we are going to try this again and have Chardonnay Shabbat. Chardonnay Shabbat number 2, the sequel. Chardonnay Shabbat, the sequel.
Those never go well.
Yeah, exactly. Although it's going to be bigger and better. It's going to be like Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. Do you think Empire Strikes Back was better than Star Wars?
No. I can't stand Empire Strikes Back, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, did nothing for me.
Really?
Yeah.
We should talk about it a little bit.
No, we shouldn't.
Okay, great. Great. Do you want to talk about it right now, or you want to?
No.
No. Okay, great. Okay.
I'd like to continue with the Aleinu.
Well, okay, great. That sounds like a great plan. You know what? Why don't we continue with the Aleinu?
Or we could talk about Empire Strikes Back. Whichever you want.
Oh, that would be. I have a conundrum. A conundrum. All right, we're going to stand and continue with the Amidah, which can be found on page 282 in your Siddur, and together we stand.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, בנאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We mourn the passing of Gloria Sack, sister-in-law of our member Gail Sack. Wanted to mention that to you even before we begin mentioning names and continuing with Kadisha Tom with Mourner's Kaddish. In the period of Shiva, we think of Renee Marcus, and in the period of Shloshim, the immediate 30-day mourning period. We think of Joyce Weinstock and Eileen Martin. And for this week, our Yortzites, Baruch Bahar, Harry Berman, Morton Binder, William Diamond, Mo Drucker, Paul Ira Dubov, Lawrence Ducat, Ephraim Frankel, Zerling Frankel, Leonard Frankel, N. Lynn Frankel, Robert Gilberts, Lillian Kirshner, Ruth Klein, George Court, Linda Kranz, Carol Locker, Helen London, Percy Lyman, Gussie Mintz, Shirley Rauch, Morris Rosen, Ida Salkind, Leon Shore, Harry Schreiber, Gary Shapiro, Madum Sashus, Cecilia Stark, Hilda Stern, Esme Tashoff, Jared Weiner, Lillian Weiner, Esther Zeidman, Eleanor Zatlow, Zakin. To those names, we had any name that you would like to add at this time. Kadisha Toam Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 294. Yitkadal v'kadash shmei Rabbah, v'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chai echon v'yom v'chai dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala u'b'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudesha brichu. Le'ila min kol brechata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran b'yama v'imru amen. Yehi shlam rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'momav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, as together we say, Amen. Amen. Please be seated. We are going to conclude our service tonight, I believe, with Shalom Aleichem, which can be found all the way back, if you want to turn back in your Siddurim, to page 24. If you 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharetz, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Kadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu Nile Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitzchem Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Adonai oz la'amo yiten, Adonai v'rech et amo v'shalom. May God, who gives strength unto our people, continue to bless us with hope and strength and love and peace. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Shabbat shalom.